Suck my ass, and welcome to the Martin Short podcast. I'm your host, Martin. Who else do we have?
Wow.
I'm your host, Psyk.
We got a third voice on the line. Who's that?
It's me, Nodine, guys. I shop at school.
We got Nodine here.
Missed you, Nadine. Where you been?
Back again, man. How was your trip?
You know me. I am always shooting schools up.
Good. This is something that I feel will get us a lot of respect on the internet. Really, a good event to reference.
Make sure to, in the search results thing, like where you, like search tags, put, what's this guy? Elliot Rogers Memorial. And people go ape shit over that.
Welcome to the Elliot Rogers Memorial podcast, where we talk about Spielberg.
The 3rd anniversary of his masturbation.
Wow.
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 Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Prince. We also got Psyk and the guy who chews gum into the mic, Bosco.
I'm chewing raisins.
Oh, maybe it's you.
You are forewarned.
Welcome to the Chew on This podcast, where we ask you to chew on a really loosely educated podcast about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, a movie we all watched 6-7 months ago, most recently.
I just organized my desktop. It's cleaner now.
Can you describe the spacing of your desktop organization to me?
I just put everything to the left side of it.
Would you say it's close?
Yeah. I put all the icons in in an order that. Oh, my phone just needs it. 1 second.
Okay, guys. So let's talk about Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I'm going to lead with this question. Is this the most important science fiction film designed that is not part of a series and is not based on any previous existing literature? What are you guys' thoughts? Let's kick it off with that.
Wait, Close Encounters is not based off of literature?
No, I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Let's see. Close Encounters.
I think Spielberg wrote it.
Yeah,
Yeah, Spielberg wrote it.
Third
Good.
Kind.
This is the type of thing people like to listen to on podcasts. It's us slowly Googling the name of the film we're talking about.
It came out in 1977.
Thank you.
Film.
Oh. How about that?
What else happened in 77? Let's set the historical
Pink Floyd.
context. Pink Floyd?
Yeah, they were around doing stuff.
Okay. That's fair. What else?
Meatloaf.
What else occurred? Meatloaf. Now, was Meatloaf famous for Paradise on the Dashboard Light at that point?
Oh yeah, Steven Spielberg wrote it. See, I told you.
Yeah, there we go.
He wrote it in 1977.
Now that we've tracked that down, because I did want to bring this up before, because I want to kind of frame this in an importance. This is something that has been removed from the list now, and I think is traditionally looked at as a little bit less important than films such as the Star Wars series and some aspects of the Star Trek series, and certainly to 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is based off a novel.
It is.
Oh.
It's based off a 2000 Space Odyssey.
Right. And therefore, is this the most significant film in the sense that this was a film written by a filmmaker as a standalone?
Not like a series, but a standalone.
It's a standalone. It stands on its own. Like.
But you gotta think about it. It's called The Third Kind. What's the
Right.
second and first kind?
Ooh,
I
that's
think they explain that in the movie.
They do, but do you remember? That's the question.
But how come there aren't films of Close Encounters of the First and Second Kind? Really, shouldn't we have started with Earthly Beings?
I think there was different drafts of the story, and those are the first and second.
And he kind of thought like, oh shit, having people just kind of look at rocks, pretty boring. Should probably put some aliens in.
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking? Yeah.
Like in that movie Apollo 18.
Apollo 18. Yeah. Apollo 18, of course, features famous Steven Spielberg collaborator Tom Hanks, except joke's on you, that's Apollo 13.
Yeah, you're dumb. I'm talking about Apollo 18.
Okay.
The found
It's the
footage
horror
film.
one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked
just
it.
just to recap, the first kind is seeing a UFO within 150 meters. The second kind is when that encounter with the UFO leaves behind evidence.
But
so
then what's
we
the
had,
third
we
kind?
had all our kinds.
The movie?
The third kind is an encounter with visible occupants.
Yeah, that's the movie. The movie's actually a real movie. It's a documentary.
That's true, because if you think about it, Richard Dreyfuss is a visible occupant of the film. He's in the film.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the frame.
He's pictured in the frame, and the frames play in rapid succession to create the illusion of motion.
They call it like animation or something.
Yeah, so Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I'd say really this might be the best animated film of all time.
Yeah, it's a really good anime. It beats Dragon Ball Z.
Look at the detail
left, right.
of the Richard Dreyfuss. I can tell you right now that is far more detailed than any Weeaboo-based animation. I mean,
It must have taken years.
yeah, I mean, just if you pause, every frame is just so dense. There's so much going on. I mean, I don't know how they could have drawn these things, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But that's probably why they never made another one. The animation was so expensive. It took 60 years to animate.
Was it? I
Yeah.
don't think Spielberg was even 60 years old when that came out.
Well, if we do the math, okay, here's
If
how
you
I'll
listen to
prove
math.
it. If we go to the Steven Spielberg Wikipedia page, it says he is age 68. Therefore, he is more than 60 years old and would have been 60 years old at that point.
Holy
You're
shit,
saying
it's Barry.
Are you saying he's a time traveler?
No. I'm saying that whatever age you are, that's what age you are, and retroactively applies that age to all previous iterations of yourself in
Yeah,
space-time.
like Doctor Who time travel, like that one episode with.
I think you guys are missing out on the fact that this was explained in the film that you could travel at near light speeds and come back and you'd be the same age.
Yeah,
So
time
obviously they traveled at near light speeds and made the film.
So Steve's taking care of business, is what we're thinking.
He's so dedicated to his craft, he built that mothership.
Mm.
Out of toothpicks and hairspray.
Okay, my question
you saw
is,
him build it out of mud.
if Steven Spielberg
No, that was chocolate pudding.
can travel through time, how come he didn't save all the Jews in Schindler's List?
Because first of all, he had to make a new film for that,
Uh,
and he traveled through time to record that film.
oh,
That's why
it's a
so accurate.
documentary.
Yeah, no, documentary.
Yeah. The real Oscar Schindler, as we know, was Irish.
Yeah, well, not
Yeah.
really. He's just Ire. He's not Irish. He's completely Ire.
Ire?
Yeah, he's fully Ire. He's not partially Irish.
How would you describe me? Canadian or Canadian-ish?
You?
Yeah.
Off tangent, off point,
Point.
lost in a sea of bullshit.
Deep. Okay, well, I tried to get some discussion going around that, but I guess let's start by briefly recapping what does actually happen in the film. So, Oskar Schindler is a German businessman who discovers in the middle of the Sonoran Desert a bunch of old collection of planes, things that disappeared years ago. And then suddenly he's French and played by Francois Truffaut. So that kind of happens in one sphere. There's two interlocking spheres, which I think I'll bring up a point later. Then we also get to witness, I guess, kind of the sphere and a half. Firstly, of Gillian, son, escaping from her and disturbances in the night. Meanwhile, they're also seeing UFOs, or UFOs that they're not willing to report, they don't feel like reporting, in the air control center. And then finally, we meet Roy, who's our protagonist of the film. And basically, the film describes Roy being one of these people affected by the UFOs. He starts mentally acting differently. He doesn't lose his family in the sense that they die or anything, but he does lose contact with his family. And through a series of events, he meets up with Gillian and some other people that have been touched by the aliens, I suppose. And they track down the science base where Francois Truffaut and a few other characters who've been introduced to are waiting and make first contact with the aliens. So this is the first discussion I want to bring up. Roy is certainly the main character of the film. We can agree on this, right? He's the one who receives the majority of screen time, etc.
Sure. Yeah, Star Trek, his first contact, yeah.
Is Roy really the protagonist of the film? Because if we look at the film as the story of man's first contact with aliens, it's really the scientists, kind of headed up by Francois Truffaut as Claude and his translator, the guy who's actually a cartographer.
Right, yeah.
And them and, whatever other unnamed scientists are really the ones who have the most effect on the story in terms of the broader spheres, if this is the story of man's first contact with aliens. And if not, then what would you describe Roy's story as that we focus on, since he is not really influencing the events of the first contact?
Well, I think you can split this into like a governmental response and a civilian response. So the civilian, or if you like, more human element of it was Roy and Gillian's experiences with the aliens. I think that's what tied the audience to the film. It's like, this is some massive, uplifting, mind-blowing event, and we can't really understand it. It's beyond our comprehension. Whereas the government response is quite structured, organized. They have plans in place. Do you see where I'm going with this? I mean,
yeah,
it's the audience can relate to something human like a missing child. They can't necessarily. Well, maybe they can, but they can't necessarily be caught up in oh wow, they're planning for the aliens. This is cool.
I would agree with that statement. Yeah. Bosco, any thoughts on that?
I agree.
I mean, it's pretty cool that with the aliens, the effect was a psychological effect. It was a compulsion to seek out that place. Like, that would be the effect of the aliens. Seeing the aliens, there'll be some sort of imprint on you, and that you'd be drawn to that place.
That's part of the key of making the aliens mysterious, I think, is that unlike a lot of films where the aliens come down and they, tear some people up, do some damage or something, this really does mystify people and also make them not really feel like an antagonist in the film. In fact, the contact at the end, spoilers, is quite peaceful. And in fact, Roy eventually goes on the spaceship with the aliens. So that's why does this film then have a proper antagonist, really?
Maybe.
You want to expand?
Nah.
Okay.
Well, another reason why the civilian response is interesting is because this all could have happened without Roy, without Gillian, and like we wouldn't know. The story wouldn't be told because the government responded to it.
I guess you could call sorry.
The government responded to it. They would have kept it quiet, and there would be no story. So, like, I guess the boy would be anonymously returned to Gillian when the aliens arrive. But yeah, the government were trying to keep people out with the toxic nerve gas story and try and discredit the people who had sighted the aliens. So it's like hush hush,
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're right because for part of the film, especially the part where it seems they're under direct threat from government security, it makes the government seem like the villain in this. But yet we are still supposed to identify with Claude. We are still supposed to identify with Claude in the team. Like they're set up to be sympathetic quite early on. They're very, especially the translator seems very relatable for a high level person. And so when Roy ends up, when they triumph in the end, it's kind of like once they're there, they're there. At the final scene, the government seems not to resist anymore. And that's, I kind of think, I am going to bring this into a bit of a larger topic now that I'm trying to lead into, that I consider this a proper science fiction film. I think there's two types of science fiction films, really. There's science fiction films in a science fiction universe, obviously, and then there's fantasy films in a science fiction universe. Star Wars is one of my favorite movies of all time. I would describe it as a fantasy film in a science fiction universe. It doesn't tell a story that in the broad scope could not be told in a different setting, but it uses the science fiction setting to tell a fantasy story. It's good versus evil, betrayal, redemption, etc. Whereas this story is based off the scientific events themselves. It's based off the what if, not the this happens. It's based off the what if aliens came to our world, how would people react? It's very much like reviewing an environment, like a science experiment, rather than viewing a story with a clear bad guy, a good guy, a beginning, middle, and end. Because really, you could argue from the hypothetical standpoint, Roy's greatest adventures, probably yet to come when he boards that ship. But what fascinates us is the relatability of these ships coming to a place that we know. It's Middle America, it's Indiana, it's just about as mundane as you can get, and suddenly changing this world into something fantastic.
Yep. I'd agree. It was good how they incorporated like a global aspect in the film. So we start off in Mexico, then we go back to America. I think in the extended cut they have the Gobi Desert scene with the boat that's just in the middle of the desert, and we've got the monks chanting away in India. They really try and make it like a global response to it, but it just happens to be that the aliens are landing in America, and that's where the events are coordinated. Of course, we have the scientist himself is French, and then so it's a French-American effort or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of stated, and there are a couple scenes referring to. I think most of them are all versions. I think we all watched the director's cut edition.
So 1980, or
that's the newest.
This is a couple of the cuts, right?
There's three. There's the theatrical release, there's the special edition, and then there's the director's cut.
I watched the fourth edition.
You watched the fourth edition, your own personal cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. But enlighten us.
But you turn it off
halfway.
halfway.
What did you change? Yeah.
What?
What did you edit in the film in your personal cut?
Well, I put all the extended features together, and then put ET at the end.
Okay, cool. And by together, we want to be clear, you don't mean in one, you mean you overlaid them at all, so all the audio and video plays at once. It's really a sensual sensory experience.
No, actually, I don't mean that.
Okay.
End. Yeah?
But yeah, I watched the director's cut version of the film. Basically, the main differences are, there's some more scenes included in the director's cut version of the film, such as, I believe, the scene in the Gobi Desert, some extended around Roy's freakout. There's the shower scene and the...
Oh yeah, I love that scene.
It has the building of the giant mound scene, which is obviously fantastic, the extent of it. And then The main difference between it and the special edition cut is that the special edition cut contains a shot of inside the spaceship at the end, which Steven Spielberg later said he regretted putting in. It was from studio pressures to help sell a re-release of the film that you got to see was inside the spaceship. And
oh my god, they had so many porn mags in there.
Yeah. I mean, just masturbation.
Alien or human?
Just regular.
Okay, regular.
Alright.
Yeah. That's a clear answer to a yes or no answer. Hey, are you going to the store? Just regular. Just regular. Yeah, so I do think that's the better artistic decision, in my opinion, to leave the mystery in the of what the inside of the spaceship's like. Because really, it's not about what's inside the spaceship. It's about the fact that the spaceship's there. The spaceship is supposed to kind of be this other, this unknown. And I think that works better.
Must have a big electricity bill, though.
Yeah, large electricity bill. But, yeah. Oh, I guess we should clarify this point. I like this movie. Do you guys like the movie as a whole?
Yeah.
I like the movie. It was nice to see a positive film about aliens coming to Earth.
What about you, Bosco?
I don't know, it's too PC for me.
It's too PC. You PC, bro?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you clarify in which sense it's too PC?
You know, like the dogs and stuff, man. They didn't kill them. They should have really released nerve gas. That's my thing. And that's what I would have done. And then, I mean, politically correct. You know, they were saying no, we'll just fake it. I mean, that's bullshit. Just actually release it, kill people, then you have no problems. True fact.
Yeah, I'd say this is a well-made film. Obviously, the special effects are really great. There's a lot of craft put into the way things look. There's a very consistent art direction for what the spaceships look like. And, you know, it's well written. It's, like, not amazingly written or anything, but it's, you know, there's definitely setup and payoff with things like the guy's cartographer career with the notes of the aliens that make up the little riff that's now famous, of course.
The riff?
The riff.
Riff tracks?
Yeah, riff tracks. Yeah, basically I'd say it's a well-made film.
Yeah, it's a film. It's made.
Well, it's a film made.
It's a film made. I guess there's no distruth to that statement.
So what about the sequel? Did you guys like it?
So what about the sequel, Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind?
Oh, E.T.
Oh, E.T. All right, we could talk about that. I believe E.T. is on the list, and will
No, but
appear
E.T.
later.
is in the when the aliens all come out, an E.T. like form just comes out.
Are we going to say this is a more significant film than E.T.?
Yeah, because less kids are involved.
See, they're made like 5 years apart.
Children actors are like children actors.
I think for the time, the special effects are presented in Close Encounters of the Third Kind is certainly a bigger leap forward. I think E.T. probably made a shitload more money, I have to say.
Yeah, because Pepsi like advertisements inside it and shit.
Yeah, because as we all know, E.T. is actually the film Mac and Me.
You remember that movie? Oh man, we should talk about Mac and Me.
We'll talk about
Or
Mac
mac and
Me.
cheese instead. How about you? Let's talk about mac and cheese.
Okay, let's talk about those sounds you keep making somehow in the background. That if it happens while you're talking, I can't edit out.
I'm so sorry.
Like, yeah, because I think E.T. probably has more cultural reception, at least with our generation, I suppose. Like, I think more people could reenact, you know, E.T. Phone Home, and, you know, they know the bike riding scene, even by osmosis or anything. And I don't know if there's anything that's reached that level of cultural, like, auto-osmosis, really, with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Like I said, at least with the generation I live with.
Maybe. I don't know. Probably.
Well, what would it be, if anything? Like, I could think maybe the soundtrack, the...
With the notes.
Yeah.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Hmm?
I don't remember any of the lines, honestly. That's the problem.
Yeah, what the fuck are you... What is that noise? Stop touching whatever you're touching. Just take your hands, put them in the air.
They are. I'm sitting on a bag. Well, actually, the bag's over my head.
Are you attempting to kill yourself live on podcast?
But I mean, yeah, I was referring to your question at the start, whether this was the most significant sci-fi film that wasn't a book or sequel, or sequelized, serialized. I'd say E.T. we give it a run for its money, if not be better.
I don't know.
So I like
good.
this film on E.T.
I will say the family aspects of E.T. I think make it. It's tough because I haven't seen
Well,
E.T.
it's
in
a
so
more
long.
family-friendly movie. That's the fact of
Yeah.
the matter, and it's more. It's you know, it's Close Encounters of the Third Kind made for kids. That's basically what it is. It's
Yeah, that's
exactly
true.
what it is.
It definitely takes a step beyond Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where the point of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I think, is the alienness of the aliens, whereas the point of E.T. is the relatability of the alien.
Yeah.
I thought it was bringing back dogs and flowers.
Yeah, that's its purpose as a film, is to have people purchase. There's advertising for dogs and flowers. The dogs and the florist and pet shop industries bankrolled the creation of E.T.
I think so.
There was a shit lot of product placement in Close Encounters with Coke. You remember the first scene is in the desert with the old guy, local guy sitting at the bench.
Oh yeah,
and
Reese
above the
Pieces,
bar, there's
that's
a
it.
Coke's sign.
Oh yeah, there was.
And then the very next scene is the kid that walks into the kitchen, and there's just like scattered Coke cans that have dropped out of the fridge. So someone's been rummaging through the fridge.
Yeah, that was me.
That is true. Looks like this whole thing was paid for by Coke.
Told you.
Back in 1971, they claimed that they'd love to buy the world of Coke, and now they realize that they'd love to buy our world of Coke and the next world and the world after. Coca-Cola, the first interdimensional beverage.
Ah.
Thank you for the applause. Let's get back to, I guess I think that was a very valid point about E.T., and I'm not sure if I could debate you one way or the other without having seen E.T. more recently, and probably, to be fair, without having seen this more recently at this point. But if we ever get to the podcast on E.T., we can do that. So I guess for now, why don't we go to one of our patented segments? What Academy Awards did this win?
Oh, I know.
All right, what's your predictions?
Let's see. Best music.
Best soundtrack, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Best special effect, gotta be.
Okay.
Yep.
Best mud piles.
Best mud piles.
I mean, those are practical effects, right?
Yeah.
Those
would be. There are awards for visual effects. Those tend to more be things like explosions and stuff. I'm not sure if there's like a
there's an explosion in this, isn't there? It's when they blow up the White House, right?
When they blow up the White House, yeah. We forgot to mention the climax of the movie actually has us meet President Bill Clinton as he defends the White House from aliens.
Yeah, Will Smith's like, "Welcome to Earth."
Yeah. It's Will Smith and Bill Clinton, and Will Smith's like, "Yo, man, welcome to Earth," and Bill Clinton's like, "Hey, y'all got any of that space herb? My wife's finally off my back after you vaporized her. If you want to set me up."
Oh no.
Oh no. Alright, nominations. The film was nominated for and did not win Best Director, lost against Woody Allen for Annie Hall. Best Supporting Actress, Melinda Dillon. I believe that's Julia. Yes, or Jillian.
Yeah, Julia.
Jillian. Sorry. And the winner was for Vanessa Redgrave in a film called Julia, a film I've never heard of.
Oh, it's a great movie.
And on that point I could see, I mean, it's tough because I haven't seen, I don't think, any of the films aside from this in Best Supporting Actress, and I do think she gave a good performance. I'm not sure if I'd call it an Oscar performance. It was also nominated for Best Original Score, for which it lost to Star Wars.
Oh yeah, Star Wars score is like 3-1, easy.
Yeah, John Williams lost himself on that one. I don't think he felt too bad about that.
He jerked off a lot. Yeah.
He's also nominated for Best Sound Mixing, lost to Star Wars. Best Art Direction, this is where it would probably fall into that giant mound, thinking about it.
Yeah, mounds.
It lost to Star Wars.
Wait, Star Wars didn't have a mound though.
No, but Star Wars had like this thing you might have the Death Star.
Yeah, that's a sphere. Mounds are more difficult to make.
That's true. I guess they're technically different geometric objects, and therefore the Academy should introduce awards for separate awards for both of them. Yeah. Top Mound. 2016 Academy Awards. Was also nominated for Best Film Editing, for which it lost to Star Wars, and Best Visual Effects, for which it lost
to Free Willy.
To Star Wars. It did win some, we should say. It won
What did it win?
For Best Cinematography.
Who to lose it to?
To itself.
It lost Frankie Warner. No, that's not. That's who did. Zilmos Zsigmond lost to Zilmos Zsigmond.
Fuck.
Vilmos Zsigmond for Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And then it also won Best Sound Editing. However, that year was like a special honorary award because
it invented sound that year.
Because this was the first, as we all know, the Jazz Singer, which we've previously reviewed, look up that podcast, also came out in 1977. Shockingly absent from the Sound Awards, I must say, for a film that invented
Time travel.
Yeah, the best sound editing effect, I believe that year was like a special honorary thing, or because both it and Star Wars received wins. I believe Close Encounters of the Third Kind received the official win, and Star Wars won one for the creation of the alien creature and robot voices. This is what I have on the list right now. There were no other nominations, so I believe it was some kind of special award.
Well, the votes are still out, so we don't know until tonight.
That's true. So yeah, 1977, obviously pretty stacked year for film, so it didn't take home quite as many as you might have expected, but obviously 8 nominations and 2 wins is nothing to scoff at. We agree.
Scoff.
Is there any disputes over if it should have won something or lost something?
Yeah, Gone with the Wind, definitely for musical score.
Gone with the Wind for musical score.
Yeah,
I forgot that came out same year as Star Wars. Yeah.
Wait, what year did that one movie come out with their riding worms? The Spice Must
Worm Rider, Story of the Worm.
You don't mean D&D.
Yeah, dude, when did that come out again? Didn't that come in 1970 something?
It's always fantastic when you have access to the internet too.
I mean, I'm playing with myself, so
okay.
Not like my deck or anything, but
84.
84, yeah, that's the same year. Okay.
It feels so old.
When you're Steven Spielberg, you can do anything with time, as we've previously established.
What else? What other movies come out in 1977?
Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh yeah.
Annie Hall and Star Wars are obviously kind of the big ones. Other films nominated
Star Wars came out in 1969.
Right. Other films nominated for Best Picture that year were the aforementioned Julia.
Oh, Eraserhead. Man, that should have won.
The Goodbye Girl, The Turning Point.
Bridge Too Far, Goodbye Girl.
Eraserhead did come out in 1977.
Slapshot. Slapshot's good. You guys watch Slapshot?
That's the hockey comedy film?
Yeah, with Paul Newman. It's pretty good.
That's I mean, as a Canadian, obviously we love our hockey.
We're gonna kill him! I like that movie.
Alright, let's, I guess one thing I want to talk about briefly, I guess one kind of on the topic of effects that got brought up. How did you feel? The aliens are depicted in this film. Not for a very long period of time, nor do they do anything particularly fancy, especially compared to their enormous spaceships that are a little mind-blowing, especially for the 1977 audience, surely.
Yeah.
The depictions of the aliens we did see, what was your guys' opinion on them?
I have a question first.
Okay.
Why do aliens not wear clothes?
It's possible that, similar to animals, other cultures of beings don't value clothing.
But isn't it colder in space?
But how do you know that they aren't exceptional at remaining warm, and also the fact that they're not outdoors in space most of the time?
Okay, so that's your answer to that. They don't wear clothes. So why didn't we get more shots of their junk?
Ooh. Well, we also can't verify exactly how aliens either dispose of bodily waste or sexually procreate, or if they need to do either of those things, and therefore if they would require junk for any of that.
Yeah, they do. Okay. Just saying. I want to see their alien clitorises.
Nice. That's hot. Okay, so then your criticism of this would be that they didn't show enough alien junk in the designs?
2 out of 1.
My thoughts on them are I greatly preferred the ones represented with puppets than the ones that were either midgets or children in suits. I thought the puppeted visuals we got to see were a little more otherworldly. I think none of them are very none of them are meant to be super fantastical. They're rather simple
animatronic
designs.
Puppets are really fucking good. Like, that's legit.
So that's my opinion. I think the alien we see represented through puppetry is far more intriguing than that of than those of the little short ones later.
Well, yeah, because you can't dwarfs can't move that much. They only have 4 joints, and they're basically all calves because they're so short. They can't move for fuck. So obviously an animatronic puppet's gonna move more than a freaking midget in a costume. Fact.
Well, there were a couple types of aliens, right? There were the small ones, the one that we first see, which is really spindly. There's that one that gets really close to them. Which one are you on about?
My favorite one is the one that gets the closest to them.
Ah, okay.
Because we should say they look kind of plain now, but the reason they look kind of plain is that I think they basically the default design for what we think of with aliens, with kind of the big heads protruding back, a little shorter with gray. That is really brought into cultural consensus through the Roswell alien, but that's kind of proliferated through Steven Spielberg's films.
Yeah.
With the design of E.T. being pretty similar along those lines, if not quite as similar to the Roswell one. So what were your thoughts, Psyk, on the design of the aliens?
I thought the first shot we see is the spaceship opening, and we see this sort of spindly, hunched over alien, and it's pretty horrific. It's a bit different to the Roswell alien in its proportions. It's got unnatural proportions. Not sure how I would say, but yes, it's definitely very inhuman, very off-putting then later on we see these, the little childlike aliens stream out, and it's like, oh, okay, they're pretty harmless. So yeah.
Do you think those
I
are
like
different
it.
races of aliens, though?
Nah, they're probably
those
just. Oh, they could be, I guess. It'd be a bit weird if they dropped off their children.
Or maybe those are the females? Or maybe they grow up, or maybe it's like they're like Benjamin Buttons, and they're really big, and then when they get older, they get smaller. Think about that.
Really, I mean,
Or perhaps,
typically your height does
perhaps
compress
it's
in
like
old age.
like a what's the word between difference of sexes? Dimorphism.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it's dimorphism, right? But
sexual
it could not. It might not even be difference of sexes. It might be like they leave their scientists there, and the scientists are these like little beta children aliens, and the big gangly aliens like the pilot.
Yeah, because they wear clothes and they made them really short. When they take their clothes off, they get really big. In fact.
Or maybe they engineered these aliens to survive the Earth's atmosphere.
Maybe.
Because the gangly one couldn't handle all the gravity.
Or maybe those are like the Mexicans, and they're like the slaves of the big ones.
Anyway, I like that we can speculate so much off very little.
Yeah, that's
design.
a sign of a shitty movie when you have
That's
to
good
make up
design.
your own fan fiction because it doesn't.
That's a good sign. It makes you think.
I would argue that you're right that it can sometimes be if it's an error in plot that leaves you wondering, but
The huge error in plot. Where's
this-
the mud castle?
we do find a giant mud castle. It's
He
right
leaves
by
it
where
at
they
home. He
land.
doesn't bring it with him. Like,
Oh, you
tell.
mean his representation? Yeah, it'd be a bit much to carry, I think, in this case. But I think that's a positive sign of these aliens, is that in a film where the aliens are meant to inspire mystery and otherworldliness, we don't have all our questions answered about them, and that they're left in vague enough forms and representations that we can speculate, just as surely all the humans on Earth do within the film's universe.
Yeah.
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 I like it. It's a good movie.
Oh, well, you guys feel good about that? Any other topics about the film you'd like to bring up before we call it close? I think it was a jokester-heavy episode, but we did hit some main points for the
Did
film.
we talk about the Holocaust jokes yet with the trains?
I don't think we talked about favorite scenes.
Oh, sure, we can bring up that. My favorite scene is, we mentioned a little earlier, the scene where he goes a little nuts and his family's running out on him and he's trashing all his neighbors' yards and stuff, and he constructs the future best Oscar for top mound winning mound in the middle of his kitchen.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's my favorite scene.
What's yours, Bosco?
You know,
Did you remember I think you quite like the helicopter chase scene? Where the helicopters are like chasing these small little probe ships, I think. I do know.
road.
Yeah. I need you fucking pretending.
Anyways, yeah. So like, the chase scene's really good because like, yeah, these cop cars like so enthralled with these unidentified flying objects, and they're like going over the roads like all high speed and shit, and they're like, whoa, look at that thing, let's keep chasing it because we're gonna catch it or something, right? Like, what are you thinking you're gonna do? Like, and they keep chasing it and they drive right off a cliff. It's like, well, that's what you get for trying.
Yeah.
I think you can argue that at that point they've already been mentally affected by the ship, and so the obsession is starting to develop, right? And that's what,
I guess.
maybe makes them act a little recklessly. I would say objectively. I'd say that your insurance company would not be happy to hear about that. You'd be paying some premiums.
What were you doing? Oh, I was chasing this flying object over a cliff.
All right, so what about your favorite scene?
It's hard. I'd say right now, my favorite scene would be the traffic control tower scene.
Just
What?
the one early on where.
Yeah, where
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
the coming into a head-on with the UFO, and I thought it was a really tense scene, and it set the setting. It showed some of the prevailing sort of attitudes behind UFOs that people were skeptical. They didn't feel comfortable going
Right,
on record
when-
talking about
when
UFOs.
they decide all the different groups who pretty clearly, this thing exists, all decline to report a UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a great way to start the film.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us in Close Encounters of the Third Kind podcast. Next podcast, whenever it does come out, as excited to learn this early days, podcast I've actually film I've actually watched quite recently, with commentary even. So I'll be decently educated on it if we actually get to it. That's 1939 Stagecoach. We were talking about
What year it came out?
1977 being a stacked year for films. I think you can definitely argue that 1939 is just as, if not more, stacked a year for production. So hopefully you'll be able to join
Wait,
us
what?
next time, whenever that is, for John Wayne in Stagecoach.
Is that the one where you have eye patch? No, he's not. Never mind.
As always, if everything's ready here on the dark side of the moon,
Oh yeah,
Play
we're not
the-
talking about that.
play the 5 tones. Goodbye.
I've been working this grave shift and I ain't made shit. I wish I could buy me a spaceship and fly. manager insults me again, I will be assaulting him after I fuck the manager up.
You guys want to watch Pearl Harbor instead?
Ooh, probably not.
No one finds Seinfeld funny anymore, actually, it's true.
I should find Seinfeld a masterpiece. Sure.
No, the person named Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld.
I enjoy Jerry Seinfeld's web series, Comedians Getting Car and Coffees.
Yeah, you must be autistic then.
Science fiction film. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Is it working?
And we're back! But my ears will never be.
Like, no, it's the only way it won't blow around.
Just sit on it.
Like, it's fucking touching your
I was doing
mic.
that before and I was getting yelled at.
What is wrong with it?
It just blows. The fans are on in my room, it keeps blowing around.
Why do you need fans on? It's fucking October.
I don't know, I just like them on.
So you're telling us that there's no way you can have this bag in your room without it making an obnoxious amount of noise?
It's not possible.
It's impossible.
It's not possible. I'm not even laughing about that. I'm laughing about the joke I was going to say.
Alright, lay it on me.
Okay. Save myself for a second. Okay, yeah, it's like, so you asked about fans. I'm like, well, everyone needs some fans someday.
Okay.
Like fans, like as in their.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad you made a joke around a segment that I'm gonna edit out of the podcast. Put the bag outside your room. Would be my suggestion.
Okay. Yeah, you guys see that Martin short movie?